Marriott is now using AI for upgrades, there's a new Centurion Lounge opening, and Turkish rug pulls customers. This and more in today's roundup. Big favor, give this a thumbs up to help with the algorithm. If you know someone that might benefit, then share this with them. Let's start off Marriott AI and how it might affect you. Opinions seem to vary pretty drastically. This was reported back a month ago, and the entire idea is that they're taking this complicated task of assigning rooms, which can take hours, and turn it into seconds. So you know how when you're checking in and they're at the computer, that's exactly what they're doing. Starting yesterday, this new system has rolled out. It's called ACU's Automated Complimentary Upgrades. It will work for gold status and up. The process seems pretty straightforward. So the day before you arrive at 3 p.m. local time, the system will check if there is ACU availability. If there's a match, then you get an email notification, and if not, then nothing happens. It pretty much works the same way as NUA's Nightly Upgrade Awards. So if you hit 50 Elite Night credits in a calendar year, then you get a choice benefit, with one of the options being 5 NUAs. This is pretty much V2. So based off an image that a Marriott employee shared, NUAs start 5 days out, Edition, Ritz, and St. Regis's NUAs start 3 days out, and ACU start 1 day out based on what's left over. The key term here is upgradable inventory. So there is still a lot of discretion by the property. The main issue is that some just outright play games with this and might add a ton of micro levels. That way an upgrade isn't really an upgrade, or they'll just say that stuff aren't part of the pool. The counterpoint is that service-oriented hotels can still upgrade beyond what's available. So in my experience, usually the ones abroad are the ones in more remote destinations where they know they can't sell the space anyways. No one's randomly strolling into the St. Regis Maldives overnight in the same way that they might do in New York. So the main idea is that the system does its job, but there's still discretion upwards. Okay, so is this a good or bad thing? I think in its current form, it still feels a bit raw, at least based off preferences. For example, we're generally more about the view first, rather than the size. I'd rather get the standard room with the money shot, rather than the suite that faces nothing. Best case is both, but those tend to be pretty tough. The argument for the AI is fairness, especially in the US, where money talks. Even if you don't have status in some cities in particular, you can kind of bang your way through and just tip or technically bribe and get that upgrade. Some employees won't take it, but others happily would. And to be fair, I don't hold anything against an employee, especially if you're getting overworked and underpaid. I still think it does introduce some weird incentives. It also ends up being a lose-lose because it screws both people that have status, whether you get it from stays or from their cards, and also Marriott as a company because the more you degrade the product, the less loyalty you have. It's already not in a great spot, so the more you harm it, the worse it's going to be. Also, the less cards they can sell. Points are a billion-dollar industry for airlines, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's exactly the same for hotels. The argument against it is that AIs are already taking jobs away on the corporate end, and this is the consumer-facing end, which shouldn't really be touched as much. The idea being that consumer-facing should be more human. The counterpoint to that, though, is that a lot of people that work the front desk are already overwhelmed, and they don't really want to do this anyways, so having it automated helps a lot. I am a bit surprised that it's taken hotels this long to do this, because airlines have pretty much done it for decades. So for example, American Airlines and pretty much all of them have computerized lists, and agents that deviate from this could lose their jobs. I can't really speak as much to other programs, but for Delta, the one I know pretty well, it's global upgrade certificates, then regional upgrade ones, and then elite status. Even if in elite status, there's levels to it, so 360, diamonds, platinum, gold, and then silver. And then within that, so if there's tiebreakers, there's a lot of other considerations, like the cabin that you bought, your million mailer status, and also how many MQDs you have this year. It's basically a giant list to go down, and it feels pretty fair to me because you know exactly where you are. The only times they would have latitude would be cancellations or other operational issues like equipment swaps or oversold flights. Even in those cases, it's about having elite status and then being by the gate, that way they can call you and change your ticket. In those cases, they have a hit list too, but they have to get down that list pretty fast. One thing I do hope they take away from airlines is upgrade preferences. So for example, for Delta, you can actually opt in for the type of upgrade you want. So for example, if I'm in a Delta comfort seat in the aisle, then I'm okay with an upgrade to Delta Premium Select, but only if it's either an aisle or a window and not a middle seat. I guess it is a bit tougher for hotels because they're a lot less standardized, but would be nice. I'm generally bullish on this and personalization as a whole, but we'll see how it works in practice. If you are doing summer travel, reminder to be careful of social media. A big reason is break-ins, especially when you're gone. I feel a lot safer around this, mostly due to today's sponsor, Delete Me. Summer is one of those periods where burglaries spike. This also isn't just even a US problem, but everywhere. The goal is to find homes that are empty, and social media is a pot of gold. A big reason for it is that data brokers share and sell a lot of your private information. Do me a quick favor. Search for your first name, last name, and phone number, or first name, last name, and street name. There's a lot of sites out there that'll share things like your full address and even names of your relatives and their birth dates. It's pretty much a dossier of all your important information. If you're famous, this can be a huge safety risk. Even if you're not though, I still don't like the idea of people having access to that information. There are ways to remove this stuff yourself, but it can take hours, and it's not fun. Delete Me makes it super easy, and I've been using them for more than a year. In that time, they've reviewed over 71,000 listings from 147 data brokers, analyzing more than 6,000 listings every month in the background. Addresses being the biggest concern for me. Delete Me helps me remove this private information without me lifting a finger. On average, Delete Me removes over 2,000 pieces of data in your first 2 years. If you want to join me and protect your personal information, then check out joindeleteme.com/AskSebby and use promo code SEBBY for 20% off their US consumer plans. One thing I'm excited to check out for my next Tokyo trip is the Haneda Centurion Lounge. It opens tomorrow, technically tonight, so July 16, 2025, Tokyo time. This is the first Centurion Lounge in Japan and marks the 30th one overall. When I say other issuers have a lot of catching up to do, this is exactly why. 3 or 9 compared to 30 is a pretty big difference. The lounge is on the smaller end at 7,500 square feet, but should be better than US ones since there's less people of the guard. Location-wise, it's in Terminal 3 by Gate 114, so it should be easy if you're flying long-haul ANA, JAL, United, or Delta. Even though it is small, it looks pretty nice. From the outside, you can tell that blue and wood tones are a big focus. Looking into the lounge, you have stone blue, indigo, and they dubbed this Japan blue, and sparks of greenery. The bar is interesting and the focus is Japanese cedar and Soji-style lighting. There's also quiet rooms to unwind, and also a special VIP room and faster access to the lounge if you have the invitation-only cards. For the rest of us normal people though, the thing I'm looking forward to the most is food. Call me crazy, but it sounds really good. It's going to include sushi and ramen, and also a buffet with local and international dishes. The bar is going to have wine and cocktails, but also sake, sochu, and Japanese beers. In my experience, lounges in Japan, even really good ones like ANA First Class, are pretty sterile, so this sounds like a lot more fun already. Also, if you don't want alcohol, they do have specialty drinks via their selection of teas. Also a sweets bar with traditional wagashi. In case you're worried about food quality, their partner chef is Satoshi Ogino. He has a bunch of restaurants, but his flagship is a 1 Michelin star one and pretty popular. Even if you don't trust Michelin, you can trust Tabelog. This is pretty much their Yelp, but pretty brutal, and ratings are a lot tougher to get. His flagship restaurant holds a silver award with a score of 4.35. For context, in Japan there's only 35 restaurants that have gold, which is pretty insane. 151 has silver, so his is in the top 186 restaurants. Bronze is a lot more accessible with 467. I know in the US, 4.35 sounds pretty bad, but over there it's very different. So for Tabelog and a lot of things, ratings skew towards 3, while for us, Yelp is more 4 or 4.5. So for example, 3 is a place you'd probably go to normally that's solid, and especially for the price. Think about your usual spots, that'd probably be either a 4 to 4.5 on Yelp. 3.5 to 3.9 are very good, and ones you'd probably recommend to people and not be too worried, and 4 are the S tier ones. For context, only 0.07% of restaurants have a score of 4 or higher. Put another way, 7 restaurants out of 10,000 would have a 4.0 or higher on Tabelog. And of course, his budget is a lot lower with the lounge than his own restaurants, but I'm still excited. Along with lounges, they're also launching a new concept entirely called Sidecar by the Centurion Lounge. The first one will be in Vegas in 2026, which also happens to be the home of the first original Centurion Lounge, which opened back in 2013. Not sure if it's intended, but pretty cool homage to me. One big difference is that you can only access Sidecar 90 minutes before your flight departure time. So instead of full meals, think small plates, and this kind of does work because a lot of their visitors actually spend less than an hour in the lounge. Taking a look at the renders, it looks a lot more like a bar or speakeasy with those small plates and cocktails rather than a full-on thing. If you already like bars at airports anyways, then this is a great alternative. Consider that a lot of people treat lounges as bars anyways, this kind of works. It scratches the itch and solves for that problem and means that they don't have to wait in a long line to get to the drinks. Long term, they're going to add this at airports that already have Centurion lounges, which should ease up wait lists and the flow of traffic. But yeah, it makes a ton of sense to me because there are a ton of times where we just go in to grab a coffee and use the restroom, and it could also make sense for cocktails before your flight. Also call me crazy, but I don't really think it's fair that the person who's planning to go for 3 hours ends up bottlenecking the other people that might be in and out for maybe 5 or 10 minutes just for that drink. Given how a lot of people spend their time at airports anyways, kind of curious what you think, but I'm super bullish on this. The last story is Turkish Airlines with one of the most interesting promotions that they ended up rug pulling. The main idea being that if you fly across 6 continents, you earn 1 million miles. I'm not going to run through all the details since the window's already closed. But yeah, the main idea was that if you booked travel between June 27th to October 27th this year, where they only considered your arrival destinations, so departure and transit didn't count, and if you flew their metal, so Turkish planes and not partner ones, and award tickets didn't count, then you would be qualified for this. You also did have to transit through Istanbul. Funny enough, we were kind of planning through this ourselves, and then we were going to make a video on it, but glad we didn't. If you already did buy a ticket though, or if you completed one flight already, then you are still eligible. My guess is that they didn't expect that many people to want to do this, and then people kind of realized that they could just mileage run it and make a lot of value back. The problem too also being that it was non-core customers. A lot of people in the US and Europe realized that they could do it for about $2,800 to get 1 million miles. You are roughing it in economy, but it's also a speed run. Okay, what's 1 million miles worth? If you're using it for business class and targeting 2 cents per mile, then that's about $20,000 in value. So 20K minus 2,800 in order to do this is 17,200 as the net value, minus the value of your time and suffering in economy. For floor value, 1 cent per mile, so $10,000 is about 7,200 net, so that's still not bad at all. So what pretty much happened is that they realized that it was negative expected value on their end. Especially so because they already sell miles, and they sell it for a lot more money. The standard price they sell it for is 3 cents per mile, so 1 million miles would be $30,000. Even with promotions where you get 100% bonus, that's still 1.5 cents per mile, so that would still cost you $15,000. So in that case, $15,000 that they would otherwise get, compared to $3K that you're now paying in order to get the same number of points. And arguably even worse for the promotion since we'd be taking up a seat and they have to render a service. If you are eligible given the reputation, I'd probably finish it ASAP. But yeah, I felt like they could have dealt with the situation a bit better personally, but that's just me. So normally I do some baseline research, kind of make a report, and then propose a demandee. Main idea being that I don't want to be in economy for that many flights by myself if I don't need to. And then usually make a video afterwards once we book everything. I guess I kind of missed a boat on this case, but kind of curious what you're doing and if you'd go for this if you had the chance. Outside of these promotions, which require hoop jumping, the best way to get a ton of miles or points is credit card intro bonuses. On that note, if you want to learn about cards, we have links on the website, AskSebby.com, and also down below in the description box. Make sure the links are competitive, that they make sense for you, but otherwise it is a huge way to support the channel, so thank you in advance. Thanks again to Delete Me for sponsoring today's video. If you made it to this point, leave a dossier or a file folder emoji in the comments down below, and I'll try to heart it and also respond. 3 questions. Number 1, what are your thoughts on Marriott AI and upgrades? Do you think it's a good thing or a net bad? Number 2, what do you think about the Haneda Centurion Lounge, and are you excited for it, or do you think it'll be super crowded? Lastly, number 3, if you had the chance to, would you still do the Turkish promo, or is it just too annoying? Let me know and everyone else know in the comments down below. Big favorite, thumbs up, share this, but otherwise hope you liked it. See you next time.